About 7 a.m. They're still in Johnson Space Center. They've been there since Saturday. They've been in quarantine, started doing their medical exams, started changing their sleep cycle to help get their body in routine, because they will be up at night and working. It's part of being an astronaut. You know, a lot of us get to work during the day and not everybody works at nighttime. So they're trying to change the body clock a little bit. And Discovery's going through some final preparations. They were going to power up the reactor control systems and doing those things that have to be done prior to launch. And it's pretty normal that they're around, the astronauts around a very limited number of people, usually a support team of astronauts, the doctors, maybe their chef. That's about it. That'll be the same thing once they arrive here. Now, the last day before they go on their mission, they will have a chance to visit with their spouse. There'll be 3 other people that can come and see them. And it's probably maybe your parents or siblings, no children under the age of 18. Sorry, but all the kids under 18 are just little germ magnets. So we do everything possible to make sure nobody gets sick, because if you do go to space sick, you're going to have a terrible time. You're not going to be able to accomplish your task. You work 16 to 18-hour days, and you got this large amount of work to accomplish in a very short amount of time. It's not 6 months like you live on the space station. You got all sorts of time to take care of things. So you got a very important job to do, and we're going to make sure that when it comes time that you're ready to go. And if somebody is sick, we will delay the launch. We don't have backup astronauts like we used to in the old days. So there's a lot of things we have to do, and that also includes us here putting the space shuttle together, getting it to the pad. We'll launch. 7 seconds later, we're done. Mission Control is Houston, Texas. They'll take over, stay in contact with the crew, and monitor the vehicle. This is all through the mission and through landing. You're always talking with Houston. Now, we're in Orbiter Processing Facility 1. We went by these couple of buildings here earlier. And this is Atlantis. She's getting ready for her last mission, which is right now, May 14th, to the International Space Station. Must have did it last night. But there's usually, you can see a couple of connecting points here, but there's usually a special bracket on the door called the strong back. You have to electrically open the doors on the ground where they're made to open out in space. And once you see the bracket missing, we're going through our final test, maybe another week or so, or a little longer. She's going to be in the vehicle assembly building attached to an external tank, and Atlanta's going to be standing on the pad here shortly. And that's a good thing, but why is she going to do one more last mission and she can't fly any longer? She hasn't been through a maintenance period for a long time. She was extended to fly a couple of extra missions because we're still thinking maybe we retire the shuttle, maybe we don't. I don't have that answer for you just yet. We've already heard rumors that we possibly will extend the shuttle, but that's not a given until it's been said, okay? And since Atlantis won't be able to fly anymore, she'll be in the garage, she'll be there for spare parts. That's really what she's going to do for us. But Discovery and Endeavour have both been through maintenance periods lately. We've been recertifying them ever since we lost Columbia in 2003, above and beyond the specifications that they've asked for. We knew we'd get into this situation. They need to be recertified. Don't worry. We've been doing that since we lost Columbia. So these engineers know what to look for. We went through to some experts to help us look for different things that we were missing. And they came up with 23 other things we need to look at. And they do every single time this vehicle goes to space. So we are prepared to fly longer than 2010. So it won't be long. She'll be going out of this building and heading to the vehicle assembly building. But let's go take a look at Endeavour, who just came back. She's now just in the routine of being taken apart and checked over. Here we are inside her cargo bay, and you can see all these little special walking platforms and little steps going up. If there's an open area on the floor, there's little steps leading down where a lot of the systems are. You know, you gotta go clean your collection systems, check your fuel cells, do all sorts of stuff. That, we can see just a little bit of the airlock there. That's not in the mid-deck. It's in the cargo bay, so we can provide a full pressurization as you leave the cabin through the airlock, and right at the top of it is the docking system for the space station. This is the original arm right here, the Canada arm. People say, Why does it say Canada? Because it was built by Canada. Okay? It's very just obvious why it's named Canadarm. Now this picks things up in space only, and that's the reason if we cover it. If we need to take it off, they do. Now this is a secondary arm over here, and that's not in our display outside. These two together are 100 feet. We can do tile inspection. This special sensor goes around the nose, comes back down around the leading edges of both wings, and that's where we start tile inspection. Before they dock to the space station, there's an end-to-end flip being done. And then they get to take pictures of the belly from the space station, and then all that information goes to Johnson Space Center. They make sure we didn't have any damage during launch time, and astronauts did know how to repair tiles. Unfortunately, until we lost Columbia in 2003. That's something extra your spacewalkers will have to learn, I will say that. So other things that have happened, I know the 3 main engines of Endeavour are off. 3 different engines are reinstalled. The other day I had a camera shop, we were looking at the tiles. Tile inspection must be done. And you'll change the tires off the landing gear. You'll check every window. You'll check all the maneuvering jets, and some of them are in the nose of the orbiter. That's Endeavour's nose right there. And these little, not these little holes, but just a little bit farther up, there's a few little holes in here. Some are on the sides, and they're just part of your maneuvering jets. Sometimes you walk in, that area is gone. You can see in the fuselage, which is cool. And then you put it back into place. Same thing about the orbital maneuvering system pods. These can be taken off, and they can put them back into place. About 3 months later, she's ready to go. Take it at 6 months, we'll be ready to go out in space. We'd like to give her a few extra months to make sure we got it ready when we need to. We're inside the vehicle assembly building. Looking down here on the transfer aisle floor, they did have the doors open over here on High Bay 1 where we could peek in and see the boosters and the external tank. High Bay 3 is empty, that's where Discovery was. Now, those 2 doors are facing the launch pad, okay? Those are the only places you build the space shuttle. The external tank only went between the boosters on Monday. This is the external tank right here. This is a 17-inch fuel line leading down. There's another one on the other side leading to here. And these are 2 of your connecting points for the orbiter to the tank. And I will tell you, the orbiter is the most important piece of the space shuttle. And you're going to say, why do you keep calling it that? Because it's the only part that's going to go travel the Earth with a gravitational pull and no power. It is orbiting. Now you can call it an orbiter, and it's named after great ships of exploration. And we built the boosters first. 149 feet, 1.3 million pounds of solid fuel. And you want to know why we don't get to go in the building? Solid rocket fuel. That's what keeps us out of there today. Now we need 75–80% of our thrust from these big boosters. We're usable to 20 missions. This external tank, no fuel in it until launch day. 528,000 gallons. That's 1,900,000 liters. We'll consume in about 8.5 minutes. You can empty the swimming pool in about 20 seconds. That's kind of what you're doing. Single bolts at the top. 3 here in the base holding it together. This part falls back from space and burns up. No air and parachute home. You have no other choice. About 2 days to attach the orbiter to the tank. Use those 2 17-inch fuel lines and a nose connecting point. Now the space shuttle's done. You say, okay, let's go to the pad. No, still another about 5 days of test. In a week, you take this trip out to the launch area. Looking right now at the top of the tank and the tip of the left side booster. This is called the beanie cap. It's a liquid oxygen vent that has to sit over this tank and release liquid oxygen vapor. There's something coming down on the other side. This is the rotating superstructure. It's covering Discovery. It will open about 18 to 21 hours before launch. Otherwise, we keep her covered the rest of the time. Well, we're looking at the crawler way. Right down there where the crawler transporter was, but now it's back in its parking area. I was hoping it would look at the back side of the boosters of the tank. And here's the top of the booster, little tip of the tank. That's liquid hydrogen.